A year before Resident Evil 7 was released on platforms in 2017, Capcom released Umbrella Corps in 2016. This was one of the most disappointing fucking spin-offs that I've ever played. When I say that I hated this fucking game, I'm telling you right now on record, this bullshit that Capcom released was, is, and remains absolutely fucking despised by me with a burning passion. I'm not fucking around when I say that. I despise this game so much that the only entertainment that could be found from fucking with this bullshit would be to break the fucking disc in half and somehow successfully manage to forcefully slit your fucking wrists and throats with it. Despite being related to the Resident Evil franchise, in a failing attempt to gloss over any seemingly fundamental flaws, the quality that represents this game is like some motherfucker with a severe case of IBS standing on a tall building and taking one of the messiest shits below on anything and everybody. Playing Resident Evil Survivor without a keyboard and mouse would be a better experience than Umbrella Corps. Even on sale, I wouldn't buy this motherfucker for $1. Even if this fucking game were free, they still wouldn't receive a fucking cent from me. Not even with the addition of a nude mode. Even if they had Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, Ada Wong, Rebecca Chambers, or Sherry Birkin naked and barefoot, with their death animations being face down, ass up in focus view. This mistake was completely unworthy of everybody's time and money. It was a waste of fucking resources. So with all that said, here's my boldly extensive essay about the mistake that was Capcom's Umbrella Corps. The first problem that occurs when you play this game, that will tell you everything that you need to know about why this game is such a fucking hassle, is that there's a particular logo that you'll see. Unity itself isn't a terrible program for game development, but it's so fucking simple, just as using Unreal Engine by not optimizing a goddamn thing. It's so fucking simple to completely forget about optimizing your game and releasing your game presuming that other people could play it without any conflict. This is a common problem in game development. I fucking despise game developers who don't fucking take the goddamn extra effort to optimize their fucking games. I played this game on another computer that was still able to max out fucking Street Fighter 4 past 60 frames to 100 and still went like shit. You could turn every option down and off, even when the game finally loads to the first stage, and it still would run like shit. If none of this applies to you, then you must have played this game on consoles, because otherwise this is what PC gamers are experiencing. Even if I do have another computer that this game would play faster on, it still doesn't change the goddamn facts. Resident Evil 5 still runs faster than this game. Capcom should have savored the fucking MT framework for this title. They've wasted their time with Unity. And obviously they've moderately learned their lesson because they didn't use it again for Resident Evil 7. But even with saying that, the goddamn RE engine isn't very optimized either. Another issue with this game is the story. What the fuck is this story? In the original advertisements for this game, it's treated as a cooperative experience. But that's not the entire experience of the game. It's not the fucking forefront either. The actual main focus of the game is following a group of characters collecting DNA samples across the globe. This also includes Raccoon City. But I'll fucking explain that disappointment later. There's approximately 24 missions in this game. But there's no genuine storytelling giving more context. At no point are players able to indulge into the story and learn about the characters as well as their motivations the traditional way Resident Evil games were known for. So instead of at least giving us an introduction to the fucking story with in-game or pre-rendered cutscenes at the beginning of the fucking game, instead, we have to read these retarded fucking diary entries that not only confuse the fuck out of all of us, but waste our fucking time. These diary entries are fucking stupid. They're not doing anything to help the story. They're just diary entries of people talking about the most mundane bullshit. And what makes it worse is that allegedly these are characters that players are utilizing in the game. But because Capcom spent more time bullshitting, none of these characters have a distinctive personality. They don't have a distinctive fucking appearance either. These characters are too fucking similar. And not only do they play similarly, but they don't do anything to stand out. Even when they have different names, it still doesn't matter. I didn't give a fuck about any of these characters. None of these characters did anything to not only give themselves a broader identity, but me reasons to ever give a shit about them being in the game. Whatever was intended with these characters didn't work, because even with their generic identities, they were still boring. I don't know or understand how or why the fuck Capcom managed to ruin this. But they did, and I couldn't forgive them for this shit. In addition to the characters being boring, the missions are also boring, but also not serving enough variety for the goddamn players. The moment that this game hit the first fucking mission, I drew the fucking line. I couldn't believe what the fuck I was playing. The game requires the players to either collect infected DNA samples or briefcases or kill enemies within a specific spot. That's all you have to fucking do in this game. And it's also not fucking helping that every time that you fucking die, for some fucking reason, you have to fucking restart the game from the fucking beginning! You expect me to take this game seriously when it's blatantly fucking with me. I can't take this game seriously when it's doing shit like this. I can accept a challenge, but the shitty programming in this game makes it nearly impossible. It's not just the fact that every time that you die, you have to restart from the beginning fucking mission, but also because everything is constantly fucking randomizing. Oh, God! Who the fuck tested this game and thought that this was a good idea? Why? There's only 3 rounds in this game. 3 repetitive rounds that players are challenged to complete in a single sitting. But the expectations that you have to do this isn't realistic. It's so unrealistic that even a speedrunner would decline the offer. It's not simple. It's not clever. And it's not fun. At all. I can take a challenge, but these challenges are unfair. If you wanted to surround the players with absolute danger, you could have programmed it better. This is not the way that you're supposed to make players feel. It's claustrophobic. It's annoying. And it's not helping with nostalgia. But what's really more insulting than that is that the only thing that you receive after completing these stupid missions under a particular time limit are these goddamn expendable fucking decals!
Capcom, listen to me.
I didn't give a fuck about these decals. I didn't give a shit about this. It's not rewarding. Why the fuck would you give this to us after all this bullshit? Completing these damn missions under a particular time limit despite the fact that they're nearly fucking impossible every time. Nothing about this made me feel satisfied. I didn't feel good unlocking these damn decals. Not just because I didn't give a shit about them, but because they weren't satisfying. To give even further context to what I'm saying, one of the major problems with the missions, aside the fact that they're very repetitive, as well as being boring as fuck, is the fact that the levels are terribly constructed. These goddamn stages are not finished. They're obviously not finished. These stages were made for multiplayer, and these motherfuckers put them in the single-player campaign with no additional changes. Once your character enters these stages, they are blatantly multiplayer stages. It took me a moment to realize that that's what they were, because I had to check everything. I had to see what the fuck I was working with. And it then became so depressingly obvious. Your character is immediately dropped into an open space. Almost every fucking door is open. And almost every item and enemy is in contact at close distance and afar. The challenge doesn't come from you attacking these enemies. The challenge is survival. The main focus of this game is survival. And these stages are so blatantly constructed for it. There's hardly any fucking strategy. Because the majority of the time, you'll find yourself immediately using any weapon at your disposal. There's hardly any places to hide. Because the enemies somehow know where the fuck you are. Even if you're across the fucking map, the enemies are somehow fucking alerted and tracked your location. With the way that the levels are designed, it doesn't make it fucking easier to evade them. They always fucking find you. The size of these levels vary, but holy shit, is it such a fucking mess. With all of these enemies involved in the stage, as well as all of this other shit, it becomes difficult to navigate. It becomes difficult to not feel so fucking confused and claustrophobic. There were times in this game, as I was progressing through the stages, repeatedly doing repetitive missions, where I questioned who the fuck designed these goddamn areas. You're subjected to goddamn fucking repetitive objectives. 24 goddamn repetitive fucking missions in this goddamn motherfucking piece of shit. Some of these stages are repeats of other levels from previous Resident Evil games. These motherfuckers were so determined to fuck with your nostalgia that when they introduced these stages, they thought that nobody would notice that they were not only poorly constructed, but being entirely incapable to either reach their fullest potential or the same quality of their original counterparts. Capcom tried to gloss over all of this shit with pretty colors and nostalgia, but I wasn't fucking hypnotized by it. I knew what the fuck I was looking at. The nostalgia would never fucking change the fact that these stages are downgraded. And the missions are not helping. The nostalgia isn't helping. 24 fucking missions in this game. a few of them that play on fucking nostalgia, isn't doing shit. They could have continued fucking with nostalgia by adding other stages from the other games. They could have done all of that shit and it wouldn't have made a fucking difference. It still would have not done shit. The mechanics in this retarded video game is sloppier than getting your dick sucked by a toothless whore whose mouth is wetter than a horny teenage girl at a boy band concert. I don't understand how or why, but for some fucking reason, the developers decided it would be a smart idea to channel Sonic the Hedgehog on a fuckload of cocaine. The programming in this game is so bad that even on 30 frames, it's exceeding its limitations. I've played many Resident Evil games, and I've never seen this fucking speed before. I've never played a Resident Evil game where everybody was this fucking fast. This includes the enemies. Everybody, including the enemies, are capable to outrun each other. It's like watching opponents at the fucking Olympics. If I wanted to watch the fucking Olympics, I would wait for the athletes that are at least wearing the most skimpiest outfits. Because then at least it would be more entertaining than this shit. The reason why this is such a fucking hassle is because it's very simple for players to rush through the stages not giving a shit about any of the objectives. The game somehow attempts to introduce stealth, but because the fucking mechanics are so terribly programmed and none of the interns didn't give a shit to test any of this, it's nearly impossible to kill any of the enemies without being seen. And once they see you, they're on your ass. That is until the game decides that they're fucking retarded again. But it's also very unfair, because once the enemies are on your ass and they somehow catch you, they don't stop. They don't stop fucking hitting you. They don't give you enough space to leave. Admittedly, due to the circumstances, we could argue that this is realistic, because we know goddamn well somebody who's extremely defenseless couldn't fucking evade hordes of enemies attacking them all at once. But as I've already mentioned, because the game is so badly programmed, it's impossible to leave this fucking attack, and the enemies are capable to outsmart the player. It is not fucking fun being outmatched. It's not fun being outnumbered. It's also not fun being incapable to leave an attack when it's obvious that the characters are capable to defend themselves. I don't fucking understand this, because this is raising the experience to an unrealistic difficulty. If you analyzed this bullshit and thought it was smart AI, then I'm here to tell you that not only are you fucking wrong, but just as retarded as this game. But the other thing that makes this worse is the fact that when you're attacked, you're given a certain amount of health that immediately depletes. Every time that you're hit, at least 3 times, your character dies. And to an extent, this also applies to the enemies. Now, because the stages are always showing you how much time you're spending, obviously speedrunners would use this to their advantage. But this fucking game shouldn't have its main audience targeted towards speedrunners. Notice how I continue saying the word speed, because that's what this game blatantly abuses. Speed is badly programmed in this game, not just with the interactions with the enemies, but the amount of time the game fucking expects you to fucking complete the stages, because apparently the leaderboards are so important. On that note, I'd like to quickly say something about the Resident Evil leaderboards at the time of this recording. I understand that competition is a thing. I know that people enjoy sharing their progress. I understand that people who are speedrunners like to prove how good they are at these fucking games. But really, goddammit, fuck the leaderboards, man. About half of you motherfuckers are talking about completing the game below a minute. You lying, deceitful, pussy-ass motherfuckers obviously didn't complete the goddamn game under a fucking minute, because that shit is fucking implausible! Just like all of the other stupid bullshit in this game. The so-called enemy variety that I've discovered in this game mostly consists of nostalgia. The majority of these enemies are recycled from previous installments. But that doesn't matter, considering the fact that these enemies are not only extremely annoying, but blatantly overpowered. This is especially directed towards those fucking crows! I hate them! As with any other enemy in this game, they don't stop attacking you, even when the game introduces melee combat that allows people to kill the enemies in one hit, slightly making it easier by a fucking centimeter. It's still unforgivable. Oh, that reminded me. Fuck your weapons in this game. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you run out of ammo too fucking easily. Even if your inventory is fully stocked, you're losing that shit immediately. The only resort that you have to defend yourself the most is by using what's entitled the Brainer. It's merely a specialized axe that could be used with or without being charged. The longer you charge it, the more powerful the attack is towards the enemies. But that's not helping much, considering the fact that the players still die easily, and there's specific enemies that take more than one fucking hit. That's the only time that you'll be using any of your weapons, because those particular enemies that appear in certain challenges are the ones that are blatantly overpowered. Way more overpowered than the regular enemies. Not just because they require more hits, but also because they immediately killed the player in one hit. God damn it! As much as I would love to lampoon this game's multiplayer, unfortunately at the time that I've recorded this, multiplayer for this bullshit is deader than half of the entire STARS team. Without actually adding anybody on whatever fucking platform that you're playing this game, with them playing the damn game at the same time that you conveniently are, there's no way in hell that you're going to be able to experience that shit anymore. But even if you could, why the fuck would you? It's absolutely blatant that this game was broken at launch, and absolutely nothing was done to improve it. The numbers explicitly describing the amount of morons who were playing this fucking bullshit at launch progressively decreased over time. And thankfully so, because nobody should have played this game. Instead, they should have sent a fucking hurricane of goddamn angry letters to Capcom, so maybe they would have reconsidered to fucking fix this garbage. Because if we're being brutally honest here, let me tell you something straight from the heart. Operation Raccoon City, to this day, has more replay value than this motherfucker right here. Umbrella Corps will never reach the same quality as Operation Raccoon City. I don't give a damn if the game takes a huge shit on Resident Evil 2, despite the fact that it's an entirely hypothetical scenario. The game still did everything better, even in storytelling, than Umbrella Corps. Operation Raccoon City could be released again, completely remade with the RE engine, and I would still play that game over Umbrella Corps any fucking day on day one. What would have made all of this a bit more tolerable is if other players could join your game. That way you don't have to go through this shit alone. And also, everybody could make progress. I mean, fuck, I'm not in charge, but if I fucking was, I think the one major thing that I would care about is having a cooperative experience, especially if the cooperative experience is advertised in the fucking trailer. Having 4 players in the same stage all at once, or wherever the fuck the game decides to place them, would have been way fucking better. Because then at least if 3 fucking characters are dead, the surviving member can continue to the next stage with everyone fucking revived without their goddamn progress being fucking eliminated. But also, I wouldn't be retarded enough to have the goddamn players restart from the first damn mission if they've already made it to the second or third. It would have been more comforting to have backup, especially when all this bullshit is thrown at you all at once. bullshit that you only have one chance to complete in one sitting! At least having somebody by your side would have made it less fucking hectic! Why in the hell didn't they program that in the game? It worked for Double Dragon. It worked for Streets of Rage. It also worked for Operation Retarded City! So what the fuck was stopping you stupid cunts from putting this shit in the fucking game? I hated every fucking minute playing Umbrella Corps, but I forced myself to fucking complete this game. I turned this fucking game off so many times. I quit so many missions, so many fucking times. I actually felt exhausted and wanted to go to fucking bed many fucking times playing this goddamn game. I'm not fucking with you. This game fucked with my mental health. It pissed me the fuck off and nearly put me to sleep. This game is so fucking lazy. It gives Dino Crisis 3 more credit. It gives Dino Crisis 3, one of the worst fucking sequels I've ever played in my motherfucking life, more credit than this goddamn game. But the most horrifying difference between Dino Crisis 3 and Umbrella Corps is that I finished Umbrella Corps willingly. I contemplated life decisions. I turned off my fucking computer and I almost prayed to God, asking so many fucking questions, including the meaning of life, because this game was so fucking terribly developed. And what makes this even more fucked up is that I'm not even goddamn religious! It's fucking with me! This game's fucking with me!